Okay. Okay. So, well, thank you so much again. Like I said, it will be appreciated if you show your face, turn on your camera so that we can see each other. They were saying that something like in communication, 60% is non-verbal. It's not about what you say. In fact, what you say only, I think, about 10% or something like that. So most are body language and also expression and so on. So that is important here. And again, like I said, in business, it's expected that you look people in the eye, and that's how people do business in that regard. But IITTI, for example, I'll give you a little bit of a background. It is the World Civility Index, and a lot of people say, "Well, what is the Civility Index?" And so it is somewhat similar to your personal financial credit rating, but instead of how well we can pay your bills, it measure how good your manners are. It measure how much empathy a person has. It measure how much intercultural awareness a person has. How many of you here are international students?
I think we all are international students.
Oh, okay. Well, welcome to Canada. I always say, to our government and also to our team, you guys are the treasure, and Canada is running out of people. So come over here and do good work. I know sometimes it may not feel that way. I always say, um, well, I'm going to get into trouble with this, but Canada, our left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing sometimes. But bear with us. We're Canadians are good guys, and we most of us are here to help in that sense. So that's why we started the World Civility Index in Canada. That's our headquarters here, right here in Vancouver, right next to your school, in fact. And where was I? Okay, we talked about the World Civility Index is a measurement that measure not about how much money you have. In fact, that's our goal, is that someday people would not be judged by how much money they have. You'll be judged by how refined they are. So what do you mean refinement? How much manners they have, how much empathy they have, how much intercultural awareness they have. So those are the reason of our existence. We started life 14 years ago by doing a lot of corporate training. So we work with companies and so on. Our founders are mostly trainers, world-renowned trainers around the world, from Singapore, Netherlands, Chile, USA, Canada, of course, and they go out and do the training for companies and so on. Myself, I was raised as an engineer, a computer programmer, so I'm kind of the odd man out within the IITTI. But that's a good mix of trainers and a computer programmer in that regard. So I'm going to talk about three levels of the World Civility Index. Why is it relevant? And if I have time, I'll talk about the fourth one, the major one. At the very basic, like I said, 14 years ago when we started, since most of the founders are corporate trainers, our markets are corporate training. So that's what we focus on. We create the standards so that companies, HR people can use it for recruitment, for engagement, and for internal reviews, internal performance review, or they call it KPI, the key performance indicator. So the index, the World Civility Index, can be used as a KPI for internal performance review and so on. So that is the start of IITTI. We don't do any training, by the way. So a lot of people get wrong in that, oh, hey, you guys are trainers. And so, yes, our founders are trainers, and an engineer, but we don't do any training, zero training. We are a standard. We're like ISO. We're a standard. So of course, our co-founders, they have their own training companies, and so they go on, but that's their own private commercial business. It has very little to do with IITTI, except of course, after the training, the students, the employees of a company can earn World Civility Index points in that regard. So now you ask, well, how do people earn points? Very simple. We know a lot of people have this a cell phone, and so we ask people to read an article or watch a video and earn 1 point per day. So that is how they can earn points. And the idea really is a combination of many years of research by many professors and researchers around the world that says the best way to affect change is really by small nuggets. So that somebody is speaking there. Can you turn off your? Okay, so thank you for turning off your mic. Where was I? I get, that's the problem with getting old, is you can't remember where you were. Okay, so the idea is a lot of researchers have done a lot of work over the years saying that, a 3-hour lecture on business ethics, it's pretty much useless because people are just going to zone out after an hour. I think there's an urban legend saying that the current nowadays people's attention span is about 6 seconds, and a goldfish is about 7 seconds. So we're worse than a goldfish. Now, I don't believe that, but still, you get the idea. A long training program doesn't work. It's not because they're bad. It's just that it's not effective. So the most effective thing is what we have done at IITTI is to have micro learning. So that's our business model. Is our mode of operation. It's micro learning. So nuggets here and there on every day. So people read an article 3 minutes, watch a video 3 minutes on a daily basis. And we don't allow this our software doesn't allow people to binge watch. So somebody cannot just reach 10 videos a day and earn 10 points. No, we can't do that. Every day you can only do one. So even if the person learned nothing at all, okay, if they have earned 100 points, what does it mean? It means the person has spent 100 days, day in, day out, doing something. So it's the discipline, the commitment that human resource people and a company can see. So when we say, okay, we go to a company and help the human resource, the HR people, say, well, if somebody has earned 100 points with a job applicant versus somebody who earned 0, didn't know, didn't care, well, we suggest you give preferential interview privilege to the person who has earned the 100 points, simply because that person has the discipline, even if that person has learned nothing at all. Which usually is not true. Over time, it has been proven again through a lot of data and so on. People who actually get this kind of micro-learning daily dose of reminder, over time, they do become more well-mannered. They do become more empathetic. So that is the thing. Now, I want to bring up somebody by the name of Richard Thaler. Richard Thaler is a I think he's a behavioral economist at the University of Chicago. He actually wrote a book, quite a few books, about this thing called nudge theory. Nudge, as this is, you move something a little by little every day. That's a little nudge. That's a little nudge. So by having little nudges, a little nuggets of information every day, you can change culture. You can change a company's culture. So you don't have to, like I said, it's not a 3-hour lecture, but every day, strategically place some kind of information, a poster or articles or something like that. You can change culture in a big way. So you think about a big oil tanker, and you go, well, how do you change an oil tanker? It has a lot of momentum, uh, tens of thousands of tons. But you can change it very quickly. But if you do a little nudge here and there, it moves very slowly, but over time it does move. So that is the beauty of the nudge theory. And by the way, Dr. Richard Thaler won the Nobel Prize in economics a few years ago because of this nudge theory. So there are people who realize what is happening. So with the IITTI, our whole software structure is based on this nudge theory, and others who are also saying the same thing, is micro learning, little bit of information every day so that people would get this kind of change you see. So I mentioned about 3 levels. So that is at the very basic level, where a job seeker can go to a human resource companies and can use something like this. The second level is is about companies' value. So the first level is really about individuals and they can earn points and so on. Second level is about companies. In the in the old ways, is always the company needs to do well. They need to make money, and they need to have a financial report, annual report, and so on. So that has been going on for many, many, many years. But recently, they need to do something more. It's called the corporate social responsibility, the CSR. Corporate social responsibility is because a lot of rich people, okay, you say, oh, rich people are bad and so on. No, 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 no. Money is not a dirty word, okay? It's how you use money or how you spend money that could be problematic. So a lot of rich people are saying that, no, 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 we want company to do good before I invest in you. So on top of doing well, having the financial report and making money, companies nowadays, they need to do good. So do well and also do good. And it's the CSR, the corporate social responsibility, because investors are demanding that. And the latest evolution of CSR, corporate social responsibility, is called ESG. Now, you may have heard of it. E, S, and G: environmental, social impact, governance. So ESG, ladies and gentlemen, is big. It is a multi-trillion-dollar industry. A lot of careers depend on ESG. It's with the big T. That's how big the industry is. Multi-trillion dollars. Private equity firms like BlackRock, you may have heard of it. BlackRock is, they have, I think, over, they have trillions of dollars under their management. And what do? They invest in companies, and they have a big bet on ESG. They want company to have this ESG. So like I said, traditionally you only need to file your annual report with balance sheets and profit and loss and so on. Now you also have to file an ESG report. A lot of stock exchange around the world in many jurisdictions, they are in the process of mandating. They are saying that if you want to list your company stock in our stock exchange, Hang Seng Index, and whatever, NASDAQ, and so on, you have to have an ESG report. That's part of the regulation requirement. And so companies now, for example, in Shenzhen, China, where most of the iPhones are produced, so on and so forth, their stock exchange are requiring companies to have an ESG report by next year. So that's coming up very quickly. Okay, that's not a whole lot of time. So a lot of companies are scrambling, say, oh my gosh, what can we do with ESG now? Traditionally, ESG has been really dominated by E, the environmental issue. And they're saying, oh, well, we just hire some scientists, some engineers. We go to a river and we check out the ppms, or the parts per millions of mercury or dioxin or something like that. But what happened? What happened in the world? ESG is getting flack from a lot of people saying that it's not effective. And they are not just saying it. I'll tell you the numbers, okay? About a year and a half ago, in with United Nations General Secretary, Mr. Antonio Guterres, they have a report year and a half ago saying that all the ESG or the United Nations goals are 85% behind schedule. 85% behind schedule. Okay, now the UN SDG, the UN Sustainable Development, a lot of it is about the environment, all that. It's about ESG, environment, social impact, and also governance and security with hunger and poverty, all that. I think they have something like 16 or 17 goals. They call themselves the UN Sustainable Development Goals, UN SDGs. And that is big, right? That is what the ESG is based on, is towards the goal, the standard of SDG. Can they fulfill that goal into what the United Nations are urging citizens of the world to really do? Now, the UN SDG, they had a 15-year ambition from 2015 to 2030, a 15-year period. Last year was pretty much the halfway point. And so when they say at the halfway point, the UN SDGs are 85% behind schedule. That is the reason why they say the ESG is not working. And people saying that, well, a lot of time, it's not about, oh, you got environmental issue and you get a whole bunch of engineers and scientists and go and measure it directly, carbon and all that. That's the easy stuff. There's a harder things that are people are working on, and IITTI is one of them. And that is, they're saying that it's not about people, engineers and scientists don't have the solution. It's not like they are not brilliant and smart. The solutions are out there. So just hang on. So why is it things are 85% behind schedule? 85% behind schedule. The root cause, a lot of researchers and so on are saying the root cause really is not about not having solutions out there. The root cause is because people don't care. Most citizens around the world don't care. Just look at the Canadian election just a few weeks ago. The Green Party, how many seats did they get? One, if I'm not mistaken, out of what, 200 and 300 parliament seats. So people are not caring about the green and climate and so on. People care about themselves first. If they don't feel safe and they don't feel respected in their work environment and so on, and they're being discriminated against and so on, all bets are off. So it has to come from fixing the people first before you can think about them having the mental space to can you hear the fire truck out there?
No, it's okay.
Okay, yeah. Well, they got fire truck going on. They don't have the mental space to think about the big things like the environment, climate, and all that. That is too far away. So you need to think about the inside. I'll tell you why there's hope in the world. Because first, United Nations mentioned that, they measure this and it's 85% behind schedule. And then the ESG community and saying, well, it's not the E that is the most important. They have been spending a lot of money and energy on carbon, on all kinds of stuff. That's why I'm saying it's a $1 trillion industry, okay? People make careers out of it. E is not the issue. What is the issue? Well, the S and the governance. Governance is about internal governance. So that has been around for a long time too. But the S, the social impact, has really been the second citizens. in the ESG world, it's hard to measure social impact. What do you mean by social impact? And so on. Well, there are companies going, oh, well, we went and built this orphanage and so and so and so. Well, is it really true? How do you measure that? How do you say you have developed your people? You have human capital development, that they are well-rounded. It's not just their brilliance, but they're also caring about others, caring about the community. So how do you measure that? So, a little while ago, we from Canada, IITTI, we raised our hands and said, well, we may have a solution. And people kind of go look at us and go, well, what's the idea? We said, the missing link has been that there was no measurement for people's well-being, the soft skills, the people skills, the caring part, the empathy, and so on. And unless we can have this kind of measurement, there's no management. Companies cannot manage it. Governments cannot manage it. But now with the measurement, it is possible. So that changed the whole game, and that's why we see that the IITTI is on a uprising trajectory at this point. So it really comes down to not having just scientists and engineers going out for carbon measurement, climate, and so on. It really is fixing the inside first before people can think about the outside. So if you need people to have caring for the environment, you need to have it ubiquitous. That's the word. You need to have common mass population understand, and they feel good about themselves, so they can think about this big thing in that regard there. Now, you may say, well, Patrick, okay, you're running IITTI. Of course you say something like that. Actually, I'm going to give you some more data. There are two organizations that IITTI we work with, and you know who they are. One of them, we got invited to be part of their collaboration team about a year or so ago, and it's called the Presencing Institute. Presence, as in presence, now. Think about your surrounding. Think about the people around you. Think about caring for them. Presencing, about sensing, about what are people thinking. It's not just about me, but about people, sensing what they're thinking, feeling, communicating. The idea really is, unless employees and so on can think about others, have the empathy, they can't build products and services that serves the world. It's all about, oh, well, we got this product, take it or leave it. That's the change in thinking right now. So the Presencing Institute, they were founded by a professor from MIT, and so it's an MIT kind of a thing. And the Presencing Institute, together, they invited something like 200 somewhat organizations around the world to sit in a room to solve world problems. And we're very happy IITTI was accepted by them. And together, over the last year and a half, there are many new things that came up, many new innovations that are in the work at this point. So as you know, MIT is Massachusetts Institute of Technology, some very smart engineers and so on over there. And myself being an engineer, I can say, well, of course, we talk about calculus and thermodynamics and so on. Presencing Institute, the first thing they do every meeting is 1 minute meditation, guys. So you see, what, engineers meditate? It's too opposite end. When I went to engineering school, there was nothing like this. It's about hard skills. It's nothing about soft skills. But the really smart people at MIT realize that's how you really change the world. It's not about technology fixing humanity. It's humanity fixing humanity. So that is the big change. And so now I told you about Presencing Institute from MIT. Another organization that is also very big now is called IDG, Inner Development Goals, IDG. And you go, wow, Patrick, that sounds so similar to UN SDGs, the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And this is inner development goals. Are they? Yes, you're absolutely right. The inner development goals, the IDG people, is really in a response to the inadequacy or the weakness of this UN SDG. UN SDG is about poverty, education, and so on and so forth. There's nothing in there about inner self, about empathy. There's no explicit mention of the word empathy is one of the goal. I guess you understand too. UN is in a hard place, between a hard place and a rock, and say, well, what do you mean? A goal to empathy? How do you achieve that goal? It is hard enough to measure poverty, having a goal. How do you how do you have a goal of empathy? But IDG came along and said, no, 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 it is possible, together with IITTI, well, because we are the numbers, the measuring people. So IDG went from, I think in 2021, they got something like 10,000 scientists, engineers, and professors. They hammer out this whole framework of inner development. And their argument is, unless there's inside development, you can't do the outside. Oh, it's very similar. In fact, it's a parallel universe to what IITTI, what we have been talking about. So it's from the inside out. That's the simple term. So once you can only have the outside, the environment and so on, when people feeling safe and respected and all that. So those are the two major group. Now, I talked about Presencing Institute from MIT. IDG, right now, there are something like 30,000 members strong around the world with 100 hubs and so on. So they are also a very solid organization. IDG was founded by a group of universities and organizations. One of the universities is called Harvard University, and two other universities are Stockholm University and Lund University, and I believe they're in Sweden. So they are an early corporate sponsor of IDG is a company that you probably know too. It's called IKEA, also from Sweden. So though they are big, they are really really big there. I'm very happy to report that the IDG group in Switzerland, they're going to publish a book about IDG, about the inner developments and so on, and they have accepted IITTI to have one chapter in their book and talking about the World Civility Index. And that is, we're very happy because they say that, well, the all the framework they have, a lot of good content, their trainers, professors, and so on. The IITTI World Civility Index measures it. We put numbers on it, so we quantify empathy, we quantify communication, we quantify inner development. So even though we are very small, much smaller than them, we hold our place because we are providing certain kind of services that fulfills their needs in that regard. So that is the big picture. So I talked about the Presencing Institute, the IDGs, and so on. That is for the company layer. I talked about the individual, the company layer with ESG and all that. Now the very last thing before I stop ranting, the third level is not the individual level, not the company level, but at the society level, community level, and that is something called UBI, Universal Basic Income. You probably have heard that AI is going to be here, the artificial intelligence that all of you young people would be facing. Most of us will be out of a job because AI will be taking over, and accountants, lawyers, and even engineers and doctors are going to be leading less and less. And so the question is, what are we going to do? The 7 billion people, 8 billion people around the world that would be out of a job. And so governments come to the conclusion that you need to have some kind of universal income, universal basic income, UBI. And we had a dry run during COVID-19 in Canada. The government gave everybody a check, no questions asked. So that is UBI. Now, the problem comes, isn't that going to create a whole bunch of lazy people? So that is the case where, again, there are economists urging us on at IITTI. Well, Patrick, think about what the index can do, because the argument is in the new economy, in the AI dominated post-labor world, most of the jobs will have to deal with people. Most of the jobs are about your soft skills. It's about your people skills. And all the technical stuff and accounting and so on can be done by computers, all the factories and so on. So instead of having GDP, which measure productivity, when robots and AI are going to do all that, it doesn't mean very much anymore. Robots and AI, they can produce a gazillion laptops. It's not like in the old days where you have factories and workers and so on. You have labor limitation and all that. But in the AI world, those are easy stuff. So GDP doesn't matter that much. What matters? It matters is, are people going to be able to live with one another, or are we going to tear each other apart, like right now with all the wars going on? So the saying is, you really need to have people be trained, be educated to care for one another. Again, that word empathy comes in. So we measure empathy in a big way, and so they say, well, that's what the index could do for the UBI, for the income. Instead of a one size fits all, everybody gets the same check. People who have more points earn more UBI in that regard. So it'll be a graduated UBI. It'll be a graduated scale of UBI. The more points you earn, that means the more empathetic you are. On average, you earn more points. So that is the way how the IITTI World Civility Index can serve the individual in terms of the finding jobs, how you can serve corporate social responsibility with ESGs and so on, and also serve the whole community by having this World Civility Index as some kind of an indexing for UBI, so that more people earn more money when they are more empathetic in that regard. So those are the three levels. I hope that's a long answer to your questions as to what is the background of IITTI in that regard. So thank you very much. Questions?
Hi Patrick.
I
I have question. What is your current marketing strategy? Like, what are you doing to showcase your company values to the target audience?
Well, very good questions. It is very hard. I think in terms of the communication part, right now we do it basically the old-fashioned way. That's the only way I know how. Very little social media. In fact, you see all the social media on Facebook and LinkedIn. They are really our partners. Like I mentioned, we don't. IITTI is really small, and we have lots of training partners, training companies, and so on. And they go and do training and use the World Civility Index. They give us information, so we just post it on social media in that regard. Our marketing really is very simple. I go to trade shows, I go to conferences, to where there are trainers. So that is our group that we have identified for the last 14 years since we were founded. And so building relationship with trainers. So now, so we are really growing organically and showing them the value to trainers, that the World Civility Index can help them in having their training being more relevant and being impartially measured in that sense. So it's really about our trainers. There are other fronts. There are the companies. I don't go out to companies and talk about our values and so on. There are many companies around the world. How do we do that? How do we scale that? So that will be one challenge in front of you. Another front are the young people, university students. How can we talk to university students so that they know this is something that would help them in looking for a job, in not only securing a job, but after you earn to go into the company, you got to work in the company on a daily basis, and you meet people all day long. The higher you go in your career, the more it is about people. It is all about people problem, people issues, and so on. Unless you can learn how to solve that, how do you work with people and so on, you won't go very far in many cases. People get fired not because they are technically incompetent in most cases. It's really about people issue. People leave company not because salaries are not good and so on. It's really about whether they're working with good people or not. In fact, there are research done that there are people who a lot of employees are willing to take a lower salary at a company where people are really genuine, they care about each other, than another company that pays them more, but in a very toxic environment. So those are kind of things that are our value. It's not like we said, we want the future to be having people not measured just by money, but also by their manners, their refinement in that case. So that's our value.
I
Uh,
have a question. Can you tell us roughly how much are you dedicating a budget for the digital marketing? Like, how is it allocated? Can you give us a rough estimation?
Right now, pretty much, we don't have. Well, everybody at IITTI is a volunteer. So we want to keep IITTI to be very small. Remember, we're not a company. We are not even a regular nonprofit. We're basically by design, we wanted to be a standards body. So a standards body is very boring. It's just about a standard. What's so sexy about it? It's not the training company. They go out there, they wave, they do a lot of stuff, and trainers are very could be very flamboyant. Some of them are very good, very charismatic, and so on. But IITTI, we're just a number. We have a reason for existence. Don't get me wrong, but it's just that it is not a sexy, electric cars or flying cars or whatever. It's just credential. But it's a universal credential. So we know our place. I know my place. And so we're behind the scene most of the time, and they go out and do the marketing, and they spend their money in all that and so on. So we don't need to, well, we don't spend money on that part there. Having said that, that's our traditional marketing, and that is talking to trainers. So I go to trade shows, and so I buy a ticket, I subscribe to their conference fee, and that's it. It's very, very little. But if we talk to companies, that's a different story. How do we talk to a lot of companies? So we have to go to different trade shows or something. How do we talk to university students? That's also another issue. How do we do that? So mm, help. That's the reason why I talk to a professor and he say, you guys are young, you guys are my potential customers, and so on. What do you think? What would be the most effective for IITTI to market to these three fronts? The trainers, we have a solid relationship, but we can always do more. The companies, the university students. So which one should we really approach first, or in subsequent years would give us the most effectiveness in that regard?
University students.
Who is that?
Gurdit. Gurdit, sir.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. You were saying university students. I heard that.
Yeah, actually, the university students have a much potential than others. Like they have a better understanding. They are new Gen Zs, so they will help you a better because they understand how they can be build a new company and how they can do such things like how they can promote products.
I think so. I agree with you. that's where my problem comes. You know, I have two daughters, 25 and 21. I find it very difficult to communicate with them. It's not that they're very nice, okay? They're very nice girls and so on. But how do I, as a 65-year-old dad, how do I communicate with them? My values are very different. Um, you know, what is this singer they went to? They spent something like $300 each to buy a concert ticket to this Ariana Ariana Grande, I think her name is. And I go, what? $300? And my wife says, "Oh, Patrick, you know, this is a different generation." I said, "You know, your old man, um, your old man is, you know, me. You know, I go to lunch. I think about, you know, a $15 lunch, or should I buy a $20 lunch? And then my girls would buy a $300 concert ticket. But I realized, you know, like my wife said, you know, it's a different generation. They don't have to worry about many of the things that I worried when I was young. If I didn't succeed, I don't eat. Now they got a home. They, you know, it's different. So I said, okay, good. Stand on my shoulder and you can reach higher. And I think that's the concept. And so you're right. I agree with you. So how do we do that now? I talked to your professors and previous classes and so on. Oh, Patrick, maybe you set up some kind of a ambassadorship at university, you know, so that we have ambassadors in different universities and they can promote this and so on. So I would be happy, you know, if that can be further along in having some kind of a student movement, so they earn points before they need to get into the job market, because you have time compared to when once you work, you have no time. I'll tell you what life is really like. Myself working as an engineer for more than 10 years before I started my company, the years in universities, you feel my recollection is much longer than that 4 years. And when you work 10 years, time goes by really quickly. It goes by very quickly. And so your first 4 years in universities are really your formative years, is how you make up yourself. And so the theory goes, you know, if young people can have this kind of empathy, people skills, soft skill training early on, the better they are when they go to the workforce. So when we are in the workforce, first is you don't have a lot of time and it's too late. Most older people, myself, you know, I'll never change. So that those are the kind of things that you have to catch them when they're young.
Uh, Hi, Patrick.
Hi,
Abhinav here. Hello.
hi, go ahead.
Yeah, as Godit mentioned that we need to promote IITI for university students. So I also think this way that they are the ones who are going to in IT sector in any multinational company. So if they use our business model, so it would help them in the in future. By checking our website, if we could make it more interactive or add some more details that would be attractive for the students, it would be a. I think it should be a. It should be. We should be considering.
Mm, Let me take some notes. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I know the website, some people, some younger people say, "Well, Patrick, it looks like a government website. It's
Yeah.
really boring." And so on. So, yes, I'm hoping, I'm betting on AI. Someday maybe AI can come in and, you know, ask the right questions, and you will say, "Okay, Patrick, you know, this is a new design that would be more attractive," and so on. It will solve my problem in 5 minutes. Wishful thinking, I'm sure, but we'll see. You know, the IITTI, we have a lot of potential. Unfortunately, we are also one. It's not even one of the few. There are
Yeah.
very few there are no standards body out there, as far as I know, that measure soft skills. So we compare ourselves with ISO, the international standard body, and ISO 9000 and all that for industrial standards. Whereas we are the standards for soft skills in that regard. So it's a blue ocean. It's not a red ocean. But unfortunately, in the blue ocean, it's also very quiet. It's the cricket syndrome. There's nobody there, and nobody in the market make noise. Okay, nobody. If you're an AI company, you don't have to tell people, oh, you're an AI company. You have to explain all that. People already get educated. They say, oh, AI company. Oh, good, good, good. And what do? You open up a restaurant. People know what it's about. But IITTI, a standards in soft skill measurement, what is that, right? So we are a very small, lone voice in a very noisy world out there. So how do we make known to tens of thousands of companies? There's the UNGC, UN Global Compact. They are United Nations organization. They have 10,000 strong companies, 10,000 companies who are committed to the UN SDGs, to the UN Sustainable Development Goals. But like UN is saying, they are not doing very much. They have been 85% behind schedule. So can we make a case that, okay, look, guys, it's not about measuring carbon and all that, really about developing your people, developing their families to have more empathy. It's a long-term game. But unless you start doing it, we're going to see social fabric being pulled apart, as it happens in many areas. You talk to a lot of Canadians, you talk to a lot of people from around the world. They say there's no more social fabric. Everything is being torn apart. People don't care about each other. You don't even say hi to your neighbors. Little things like that. I'll tell you another number. People say, well, prove it, Patrick. I'll say, look at Singapore. They have, in 1979, they started in 1979, okay, before most of you were born, I would think. They have a campaign called the National Courtesy Campaign. National Courtesy Campaign. That's exactly what we're talking about. You have to be nice to people. You have to have good manners. You have to have empathy. So they line up at the bus. All kinds of things around Singapore. Singapore, the argument in 1979, the government saying that it's not about just, we have good engineers, good accountants, good finance, and doctors and lawyers and so on. Those are given. They are like basic hygiene. You have to have it. But you also need to have that extra layer of civility, of caring for one another, so that citizens in Singapore would feel like this is home. This is where we are. So you go to Singapore now, they don't look at, oh, you're Indo-Singaporean, you're Chinese Singaporean. They're just saying that I am Singaporean. That is unity. They may all from different ethnic backgrounds, and their mother tongues are different and so on, but they all feel like they are Singaporean. And that's because from 1979 onward till now, that's their campaign. They have this ongoing campaign. It's a long, how many years? It's almost like 40 years, 40 plus years. Then they start to see result. Most companies don't have that luxury. Most CEOs, they run by quarters. Every 3 months, they have to produce result. Otherwise, they could be kicked out. That is the situation here. Even our government, every 5 years or 4 years, we have a new government. They can't have, like in Singapore, where they look ahead 10 years, 20 years, and so on. But United Nations can. I think that's the thing. That's why people are saying that's what United Nations can do. But I agree with you can we have university students understanding what is going on in the world and understand the importance that they get this kind of education on top of what you're doing, marketing and so on in that regard.
Hi, Patrick.
Hi.
My suggestion is that as you have two like partners, presenting institution and ITG, Like my suggestion is that if you are working with LinkedIn, that is the biggest platform where generally students are scrolling day by day. And I think that students learn more about your company, what is the company is. So my suggestion is that if you active on LinkedIn, it will be the best way.
Yeah, very, very good observation. I think there are students who chimed in. They already asked us to set up some kind of a discussion groups, and we go, okay, what discussion group? Okay, so we've clumsily set up some discussion groups on LinkedIn, and I would invite. I'll send that link to your professor so that you can all see from the IITTI website on LinkedIn. You can join some groups. There are already people who want to say, Patrick, you should really think about ambassadorship, volunteering ambassadorship at schools. And so what would be the procedure? What is the framework? What is the benefits of becoming an ambassador? So we got to set up those kind of structure in time. And there's also another think tank group. Think about exactly the thing I was talking about. The UBI, replacing GDP with World Civility Index, or WCI they call it. So replacing GDP with WCI, so that's a big thing, right? But there are people, young economists from different universities. They're passionate. They see the shortcoming and so on. So I agree with you. Now, I encourage you to join those discussion groups, because, like I said, IITTI right now, for the 14 years, we haven't been very successful, so something, and maybe even, people don't believe in us, they leave and so on. But now we're at an inflection point where we're part of the United Nations as an official partner. We got invited by Presencing Institute and the IDG, the Harvard group. They are writing a book chapter on us and so on. So many things are happening. There's also something happening in Dubai, okay? That's the latest thing. There are people who urge us to set up humanity hubs, humanity hub in Dubai. So lots of projects. There are lots of money around, and we can set something up so that in the future world, it's not about whether you have a gold or platinum credit card, but it's something about how many points of World Civility Index have you earned, and that would get you into better deals in a restaurant or hotels and travel attractions and so on. So we're trying to change the world in a way that it's about your refinement. It's about the soft skill. So it is all coming, and exciting time, isn't it? Okay, so I answered the marketing part. We have very little budget. Like I said, the marketing, what, $10,000 for me to go to trade shows every year and so on. I don't collect a salary. Nobody at IITTI collect a salary. We are all volunteers. So for the last 14 years since it was found, zero income. But my previous life, we sold companies, so we have some money in our pockets, and so at that point we're saying, what's the next big thing? And this thing happens to be something that is that fell on our lap, so to speak. There are people who want us to do something like this, and so we're very happy. But now I'm saying that I'm not saying IITTI doesn't have money. Well, we don't have a lot of money, but with all the incomes coming in, we put it into the piggy bank. We put it into a fund. The reason being is when I retire or when I die, who's going to take after? Who's going to come after? The CEO would need to have, is probably younger than me, and he or she may not have the luxury of not needing to be paid. So they need to be paid. So in the future, IITTI will have to have a skeletal staff of at least a CEO and maybe one or two people. We pay them. So from the piggy bank from the money that we have now, we can sustain that so that IITTI will be sustainable in that regard. Even though, you know, we're very small and other people are doing the marketing for us and so on, we still need to have a skeletal staff moving forward. So that's the plan of IITTI in that regard. So having a fund, having a piggy bank, having a succession plan, who's going to come after us, you know, when we're gone. So we're not looking at a 2-3 month or 2-3 year kind of vision. We're looking at 5 year or 10 years. And if I die and live 20 years, you know, what's going to happen after 20 years? So someday I will die. So it has to be continuing. It will not just fizzle out in that regard. So that's what we're planning all along. So does it make sense? I really hope that, you know, some young people like yourself come in, hey, Patrick, you know, this thing is ridiculous. You guys are running it the wrong way. I would love to hear something like that. And so, you know, hey, I got my notebook here, and you know, I'll take down all the stuff that I can learn from you. Like yesterday, I show my girls one of the you know, the Dubai project. I made a pitch. I made an elevator pitch, like a true entrepreneur, saying, oh, what are we doing, and so on. And my two girls are saying, hey, Pat, hey, Dad, you know, why are you talking about something like this? They would not. This is irrelevant. And I go, well, that's because of that and that and that and that. And they say, that's exactly it, Dad. You know, you have to explain it to me. It's not like in your video you're doing that. You have to explain it to me. And I ask, I said, oh yes, that is my failure already. So I'm gonna write it down. And so, you know, those are kind of things. If you're in it for so many years, 24/7, you don't see it anymore. You don't remember what you have said, what you haven't said, because in your head you have fought 100 battles. In real life, you fight one battle, but you got all the different cases, different combinations and perturbations and so on. You say, well, what if it is this? And it's all fought out in your head. So sometimes you don't remember what is what anymore. So journaling is important. I always do that every day and write down things. So 5 years from now, you know, when I look back, I say, oh, hey, I did that, and we did that, and so on. So those are the kind of strategy, little things that I think it really helped in that we are very small. IITTI is, you know, is a handful of people. It's a virtual organization. We used to have an office. Now we don't even need an office because everybody is everywhere. But hey, we got United Nations as a partner. We got President's Institute with MIT, IDGU with Harvard, and now we're, you know, we got invited to go to Dubai, or being urged by somebody, and there are other things in the pipeline. So those are the prospect of what the future of IITTI could be. So in terms of deliverable, I think you all would be interested in that. I don't need a 20-page white paper. Nobody's going to read it. I'll tell you why. Because AI can do that for you. So I don't want to spend time reading something that is generated by AI. What I really need is a one-pager. A one-pager telling, for example, if you think the university students are a good market, what would that one-pager can do for a regular students from a regular universities would look at it and go, wow, of course, you know, this is something important. I should go and talk to Patrick and earn a few points. You know, what would that communication piece be like? That is the important thing. So our goal at IITTI is not to generate, oh, next year we need to have, you know, $100,000 coming in, increased by so many percent. It's the awareness. Like I mentioned before, UN is 85% behind schedule. It's not because there are no smart solution. It's really because people don't have that awareness. They don't have that awareness. They don't care How can you care about something if you're not aware of it, right? So those are kind of issues where awareness, attention is the gold standard, is how you measure it. How many people are aware of something like this? Well, if they're aware and they don't take action, is pretty much useless. But if they earn points, eventually, well, then we can say, well, there are 200,000 man point. So 200,000, or how many people who have earned 10 points and so on. So accumulatively speaking, you have so many man points, just like man hour in the labor force. So those are kind of things that would be our KPI eventually. But we're too small. We only have something like 200,000 users in 20 countries, which is not bad. I'm not saying it's bad. These are the diehards. These are the early adopters. They see it. They know how ugly our website is, but they still go out and earn points. These are our real golden treasure in that sense. So we want to scale that up, with the one pager that you help, that we can, like you said, go to a discussion group and share with everybody, so they can share in that sense. And that one piece document will be it. So people at least have say, oh, it's only one page, I'll read it. So what do I lose? Not very much. So very concise, very short, but to the point. And that would be ideal. Okay, so have I answered most of your questions?
Uh, I have one more suggestion. Like, I want your perspective on my suggestion. Like, as you said, you want to know like how to talk to youngsters, like the university students,
Mm.
as we are the target market for your business. Am I right? So, as we observe, we the teenagers, we are very active on social media, and our life is very linked to the influencers and the bloggers. So for the global expansion of your business, if you have some partnership with influencers like the bloggers in the developing countries like the India, like I'm from India, and there are many southeast countries which are in which the youngsters are struggling for the better job. So if they have the knowledge, because your website doesn't have any much description, so the first thing I observe is there should be the brand awareness as your company. If the youngsters like me in my home country knows about your company, because I think as you say your budget is low. So if you have partnership with those influencers in the developing countries, it wouldn't cost you much as compared to your traditional method of paying to trainers. Even you don't have to visit their locations. Even you can contact them online by social media or anything. So this is my idea. I hope
What
if it
about something
suits.
like this? What about something like this then? Simarjot, this one pager, if you agree,
Yeah,
is going to be about how do you approach influencers.
yeah,
Okay, I have no idea how it's done. Okay, what is an influencer? How do they make money?
yeah. We will try. Like, this is just a verbal communication of our first meeting. So when we prepare the proposal, because we need your written approval, like your acceptance of our ideas that we have to post for our written proposal. So we will describe it in comprehensive manner in a written proposal. So I just want to know that are you interested in such kind of thing or not, so that we have to work over that in our proposal.
It will be excellent because this is a new territory for me. I have no idea that, there are, I know there are a lot of influence out there, what's the business model, how they actually do it. and so on. I have some ideas, but how do we actually talk to some? And are there influencers that do this? I know there are influencers who sell products. Okay, they go out and sell. Oh, this is the soap and so on, and they go. Would there be influencers who talk about be a better person? That's a,
No, I'm not saying that. Like there are many like the academies that offer the education, like the career guidance for the students in India. There are many examples of that. I'm saying they are kind of influencers if we are talking about the career advising.
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So the podcast could be one of the ways. So there are podcasts which educate people. So podcasts are a prime, like those are also influencers turned into podcasts. So you can go ahead and have a meeting with podcasts. You can do podcasts with them so that you are also identified as a person who is behind this. So you could also market yourself in podcast. So that those could be great for you as well.
How about this, guys? Um, we set up some kind of an ambassadorship in universities. All volunteers, these are young people. The ambassadors would go out eventually, go and talk to these influencers and so on, because you guys are younger. You have a lot of credibility. When you talk to career planners and say, look, we're doing with this. I work with IITTI, Patrick and all the good guys in Canada, and we think this is something that would can add value to your people. And this is the credentialing. They don't do training. You can still do the training. So those are kind of dialogues, this kind of narrative. Because I do see, if in India, for example, if there are 10,000 training companies, I would love to have the 10,000 training companies working with us, ITTI, because we're not competitors. We put a standard credentialing. And so what we have is we have an independent vetting committee. There's an IITTI International Vetting Committee. These are the people who vet all the content. They screen all the content to see whether they are worthy to have the World Civility Index. So it's a kind of a quality control. And if the 10,000 training companies and schools in India, some of them would see the light and agree to join us, that's a big win. That's a really big win for us in that world. So yeah, I love the idea.
So we would try our best to explain this, like how you can do in our written proposal.
Yeah, in the one pager. So the
Yeah.
idea is the ambassadors, our future ambassadors, would hold that one sheet and go to different places and say, well, this is what we are representing and so on. So with one sheet, most people would read it. Like I said, 20 page white paper, nobody's gonna do anything. But one pager, people will read it in the real world, I would imagine. So yeah, what do you think? Is that a good plan?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. All right, so I'm very happy. I'm very happy that we come to this conclusion. Young people are the future, so we should really, and they are the paying customers at the end of the day. University students and employees in a company. So yeah, that will be good. Okay. Any other questions, comments, dislikes? Okay. All right. Thank you so much. You guys are so creative, and I can see that you're thinking. So I'm very happy. Let me know if we can have more meetings like this, and like I mentioned, I would encourage you to join our discussion group. Not so much you have to say anything, but at least I would know who you are, and if we announce that there are going to be projects and jobs and so on, I'll put something in there. Hey guys, there's something happening in Dubai, and we need people to work on whatever. You guys would be the first choice because you already know what ITTI is about, the strength and the weakness. That's gold. Yeah. All right. So without anything more, I'll send this recording. I'll upload it onto YouTube so you can look at if and when you want to. All right. Okay. So thank you so much, and we'll talk again
Uh,
soon.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I have yesterday I mailed to you for the meeting. Like as we have to conduct, as this is our first meeting of group number 3, and in this meeting we just want to gather your ideas and what are your current marketing plan, budget, and all the things to just outline our like the group project proposal. So for the second meeting we just want to review our core ideas, our creative ideas that can add value to your business. So I mail to you as well. Can you suggest us the timing as per your availability for second meeting?
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll reply you in that email so that
yeah,
it'll be easier. I gotta look at my schedule so that
yeah.
there's no conflict with something else. And yeah. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Patrick.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.